Welcome back to Rock Your Best Vocals. Today we're going to talk about how much breath do you need to sing. You've probably heard of this too, where some vocal coach will say, you only need enough breath to sing the line. First you go, well, that kind of makes sense. You only need enough breath really to sing the next line. You don't really need to pack your lungs, as they say. They talk about this kind of concept of packing your lungs and, that causing stress. When they say that, I'm kind of thinking, well, how do you calculate how much breath you need to sing that line? How do you know then how much breath to breathe in? Let me know in the comments below if that makes sense to you. If you go, okay, I know what line I need to sing next, so I'm only going to take in the amount just to sing that line. And I'm going to go against the grain here with this because I sing in quite the opposite way, and a lot of the classical teaching is in this way, and I'll get into that in a second. But when you calculate the breath, okay, just getting back to calculating this breath and only using enough breath to sing the line, where that doesn't make sense to me is I kind of use the analogy of how much gas do you need to drive to the store and back? So let's only fill up, just enough to get you to the store and then back. Does that sound like a good practice? To me, it doesn't. I mean, certainly for driving a car, it doesn't make sense. For singing, I'm going to explain why it doesn't make sense either. I work with one particular student who has muscle tension dysphonia, and one of the major causes of muscle tension dysphonia, if I could even say that, is using very little breath to try and speak with. Say, for example, this is the scale of breath, and this is 100%. When people have muscle tension dysphonia, they're only really filling up to about 20%. And you could try this yourself. You could just try to blow all your breath out. So I'll do this now. I'm going to blow all my breath out. And then I'm going to try and speak like that. That, to me, is very tense. How do I mean, I can't do that. It's so uncomfortable to be down at that level and try to use very little breath to make any sound. So that to me means that probably isn't the most efficient way to breathe for singing. There's a lot of vocal coaches that say that. From my own experience, singing in the position of an inhale has helped me dramatically. So what does singing in a position of an inhale mean? When I inhale deeply, and from the classical school, raising the sternum. So not the shoulders. Sometimes if you expand your ribs, your shoulders will raise kind of as a result of that in a way, but mainly it's standing with the sternum out a little bit right here. So ribs wide, sternum out. So this is kind of the best posture for singing when it comes to classical singing. When it comes down to best practice for efficiency of singing, I think we should take a note out of that teaching. This worked for me, so that's why I'm sharing it here. So we're going to try a couple of exercises together. So if you put your hands on your ribs and expand them out to the side, remember, sternum up, expand your ribs as far out as you can. Okay, so we're going to do a couple of things. Do a hissing exercise. I don't normally like the hissing exercise because it promotes kind of a pushing sense, which we don't really want a pushing sense, but it does work because you're doing a steady flow of air. So we want this steady flow of air. Just keep it don't like that. We don't want that. We want this just steady flow of air, because that's when we sing, we want a controlled flow of air, a controlled flow of minimal air to vibrate our vocal folds. Ribs out to the side, put your hands there and keep them expanded. Don't let them collapse in at all. We're going to blow out just this hiss as long as we can. And if you have to keep your ribs out to the side for the entire time. Ribs out to the side, here we go. So if you kept your ribs out to the side that entire time, I want to know what happened with your abdomen. when you were doing that. Okay, so comment that below. Now what we're going to do is we're going to transfer this to singing a note, okay, because we want to use this. The reason why the hissing exercise I don't like is it places the kind of emphasis up here, like, and the vocal folds are here in the throat. So we want to get used to having that sound come with this controlled outflow of air, this controlled outflow of minimal air. So hands on the ribs out to the side. And we're going to take this. I've talked about this before with the cord closure. We want a really light cord closure, and we want this feeling to come from here. So we let a little bit of breath out. Ah, ah. And so once we get the vocal folds closed, we can kind of lean and keep that breath steady against the vocal folds. Just keep the breath just steady. Don't go too loud or soft. Just keep it just one steady stream of air and a light. We don't want to push. That's definitely not what we want to do. We kind of just want to allow a little steady stream of air to come up. I'm really just allowing that. Another way to think about this is if you're yawning, it's really late and you're going to bed, and like that is the kind of feeling. Singing should feel like that. Should feel as easy as like there's no change in kind of pressure or anything up here. I'm not forcing, pushing anything, but because I lifted into it, and I don't want to, like, I want to stress that I'm not pushing. I'm not forcing air. I'm kind of allowing air, but you do need to, there's a little bit of kind of almost like a bagpipe movement, kind of that against the abdomen, kind of a little bit of a squeeze, just to put a little bit more pressure on the air. You do have to counteract that pressure, but I'll get into that later or on another video. But I just want to go through this. We're going to hands out on the ribs, keep the ribs open the whole time. And we just want to get that light cord closure and just allow a little stream of air to come up. Down at the end, I could feel my ribs were collapsing in a bit as well, so that's why I stopped it. And once you collapse in the ribs, you start getting down to that 20% of the breath, and then you're going to start forcing and all sorts of stuff. So if you just try this exercise, next time you go to sing, try this, ribs expanded out, and from the position of an inhale, plenty of breath in my lungs. Another reason why is when we have the ribs out to the side, it flattens our diaphragm. So the diaphragm sits just under the lungs. And when we have our ribs out to the side, that forces the diaphragm to flatten. As it contracts and flattens, it sucks air into the lungs. That's the way it works. But we can trick it into staying flattened by keeping our ribs out to the side and just doing this kind of staying in a position of an inhale. And you can just practice this all day, walking around, just being in a position of an inhale, because then you're up at the top level of your breath, somewhere between 80%, 70, 80, somewhere around there. You don't really want to go below that. When you work with this, you kind of see how easy it is to sing when you're not just taking just enough breath and then you get down to the end and you're running out of breath at the end of a line. You definitely don't want to do that because that's entering tension then into your voice. It's a recipe for disaster, so don't get into that. So let me know how you got on that with that in the comments below. And join me on Patreon or become a member on the channel here for some exclusive benefits on both. And I'll see you guys on the next one. Rock your best vocals, but your best keeps getting better. Thanks for watching.